This video is the reconstruction and restoration of a Honda 50 C100. I think it's 1964 or 65, probably 65, 1965. I've had the engine restored by a friend of mine. We did a deal on some parts and stuff like that. These are some of the component parts for it. Some new parts there, some of the old parts. These are the two wheels from it. And I have more parts inside in the box here. These are the main components of the Honda 50 C100, which I've had powder coated. I did actually two leg rest stands, the petrol tank, swing arm, handlebars, the back swing arm. I had two stands, so I got them done as well. These are some of the suspension components, which have been in a box now for a few years. Taillights and grips and stuff like that. And this is the existing seat that was on it. I'm not sure if it's the correct one, but I will check it out and make sure that I put the right one on. So that's it. Start putting it together now. Now I'm starting to restore the bike. This is the front swing arm and this is the main frame. So we've got to put ball bearings. I've just put grease in there initially, so I've got to put 21 ball bearings there. I must actually grease that side of it as well and put in 21 6mm ball bearings. So that's the next procedure. I put on the ball bearings and this goes up here then when the ball bearings are on, like this. Now that's the 21 6mm ball bearings there. Now that's the swing arm and front inserted into the main frame. I've just greased this area here to put in the other 21 ball bearings. Now that's the 21 ball bearings in place. I'll put some more grease on that now. And then put the top race on, which is this piece here. And it goes down that way. Now I'm just inserting the top race, which goes down there, and it spreads the ball bearings out evenly. And then this is the next piece that goes on down over that and screws down all the ways. Right, that's down in place. Now the next piece to put on is this piece here, which takes the handlebars. There's two holes there and there's two bolts must go in there. I must have a look and see what size bolt goes in there. And this nut tightens it down here. So I must check in the book now to see what bolts go down there. Right, I've looked at the book Now the book that I have doesn't give the size of the bolts, but I'm using 8 by 20mm with a spring washer. It says shake proof washer there. I'll see if I have shake proof ones. Actually, I might put a shake proof one on it, but the spring washer should do the job. So I'll thread the two of those down there now. You need 2 hands, 3 hands or 4 hands sometimes if you're filming as well. Now that's the 2 8 by 20mm is what I've used. That was what I had. So I must just tighten up this this bolt here a bit more now. There doesn't actually seem to be any kind of a lock washer or anything on that, which is unusual. But I'll just tighten it up a bit more. I don't have the special tool. I would imagine there was a special tool because there's 4 grooves on that there, but I don't have it, so I'll have to improvise. Now I'm going fitting the handlebars. I've attached the indicator units and I have the components here. This one has a little section on it like that one there, number 13, which I would assume goes like so to cushion the handlebars. Underneath that then what I have got, now this one looks like it's got a rubber attached to it, which is like this, but the other one that came off of it is like this. So I would assume that that one will go up underneath like so, because it actually fits into that section there, fits into that there. Then it shows a washer and a nut, so I'm going to put on a couple of new washers. That's the old washers there. I'm not going to use those. Put on the new washers. Now I'm after installing the 2 rubbers and I'm going to put the handlebars down over it. Like so. And that does cushion them nicely. Now I'll put on this fella underneath, a couple of washers and a nut. Now I've just turned the thing upside down because it was easier to put it on, and that's the handlebars in place there now. Now I'm attaching the lock next, which goes on with these 2 little screws which I got off of the old lock. They didn't come with the lock when I bought it. That's the lock in place there now with those 2 little screws. I've just put on the stand temporarily there just to put on the rear number plate, and I'm putting it on with stainless steel bolts. There's a 3rd one down there. I hope that it'll work that way now. I'll have to check to make sure that it's okay. Now I've installed the number plate and I've put a couple of new bolts on it to keep it in place, and it's ready now for the taillight. There are 2 bolts that go through the glass that I must get that go in there, and that'll be finished. I've just put on the side covers there, I'll be taking them off again, and I put on the stand temporarily. I have put on the front suspensions, and I'll go through that now shortly. Now I'm just going to go through there the stage of inserting the suspension, which I've already done. Basically what you have to do is, when the bike is, I had it upside down, I'm doing other bits at the moment now, so I can't turn it upside down, but you put the suspension up through the frame like so until it reaches this hole here. Get this section here at the bottom, this section here, to line up inside here. And then put this bolt through here, and this is a special bolt. It's got a small little groove on it there, and there's a similar groove on the frame itself. So you put that through and you tighten the nut up just hand tight. Then you get this section here in here and you wiggle it about, and you get this bolt and you pass it right through. Now this bolt has a grease nipple on it for greasing, because that needs greasing. As you can see from that one there, it's all grease. Then when you have the two of them installed, you can then press down on this section which pushes the spring back, and you can then get this section in there and you can line it up. That's the cushion, rubbery cushion support, and then this is the bolt that goes through, so you push the bolt through. Must keep pressure on this at all times so that this thing sits in the right place. There's no good in sitting it like that. This is the correct way for it to sit. So that's how that was done. I've also put on the number plate. I'm still waiting for a 7 for here to come, but there are special brackets which were actually on the number plate to avoid the ridge that's on the front mudguard. As you can see here, they're kind of light, but I put them on with 5mm bolts and washers, spring washers and nuts. So that's that. What else have I done? I've installed the rear light, rear number plate, and I have the rear light. I must get the 3x60mm bolts that go in there, and I must get a little rubber thing that goes there as well. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm fiddling about with the petrol tank. I just put it in there a minute ago just to look at it. So there are two connections on the petrol tank, and these are the old petrol hoses that came off of it, so I'm just going to look at them now and see if I can reuse them. This is a new one that I've installed at this site here, but I'll see if the other ones are usable. Now I'm just after attaching the two. I was able to reuse one of the, I could have used both of them, but as I had this on, I left it on. So I'm after just putting on clips there as well. So now I'm going to insert them. They must go down these two holes here, and there are 4 bolts, 2 at each side, to attach it. Now that's the tank in place with 6x24mm bolts is what's recommended. I'm after using stainless steel ones to avoid the rust. Now the next piece I'm going to put on is this piece here, which takes the seat. It goes in like that and down like that. Now I think this is where the suspension goes, so there's obviously bolts for this. I must find which bolts, but I think probably 8mm bolts. I must just give it a tap in place and line it up. Now I've installed the seat holding unit, and I've used 8x16mm bolts, and they have those dome nuts on it, so it's only just two, one at each side. Well, it looks like in there. So the next thing to put on now is this. I don't have the seat at the moment. I have the seat that came off of it. I might put that one on actually. There it is there. Just for the time being while I'm waiting for the other one to come. So this is the seat that came off of it. But I've been told that, even though I've seen pictures and I have the Honda 1960s C100 and C105 parts list, and the seat is black on it, but I've been told that that's incorrect, so I've ordered the grey and white seat, so that's on the way. So I'm attaching this bracket on here now, just temporarily, just to put it on and see what it looks like, while I'm waiting for the other seat to come. So I need to put in a washer. Spring washers. And tighten up those two nuts, and then attach it on there with this special bolt. So it says on the book to use the special pin, flat washer, spring washer, and a 6mm nut. Now that's actually for putting the seat on, but for putting this bolt on, I'm going to put a washer as well, a spring washer and a nut. So that's that in place there now, the special nut going through, and it swivels backwards and forwards. You have to put it on before you put the seat on, otherwise you won't be able to get the bolt through. This is the rear swing arm section, which goes on something like this, through there, and the rear footrests are on it, and the wheel goes on there, and the suspensions are attached there onto that, I presume. I'm just installing the rear indicator units there now. This one I have it fixed in place. The other one is here, and basically it's a 10mm nut at the back there that holds it in place through the frame, so I'm going to put that on now as well. That goes through that hole there. So this is the hole at the other side here. The wire goes out through this hole here, and the unit itself goes through that hole there, I think. Yep. And it sits kind of like at an angle. So I'll tighten up the bolt and the spring washer in behind it now. Now I'm just after putting on that air pipe there. I've put on the air box with the filter inside it and the cover on it just to put them on. I've been putting on the wiring harness, which is here, and I have it going up here and out here. I had all the wires marked B5, B this, and to get it up here I had to actually take the handlebars off, and I'm at the moment putting in this horn here because you can't have the handlebars on when you're trying to attach this covering here, which covers the horn. So I'm putting this on at the moment now with stainless steel bolts. There are 2 wires coming off of it which I didn't have marked, but I would reckon they probably marry up with whatever colours are up here, hopefully anyway. Right, so I'm going to screw that in there now. That's the horn in place. I've used 6x15mm bolts, so you could use 6x12, probably would be about the size of it. Now I must just see if one of these wires matches up with some of these wires up here. There's a red wire here which I don't have a number on, so I would assume that that wire lines up with that. All the other wires have, except this one. This one doesn't have, but then it doesn't match up with this. So I'll have to have a look at the wiring there later on. Now, to get that housing on that covers the horn, I've had to take off the number plate. So if you have a situation where you have a number plate like I had, which is that type, don't put it on until you have the horn on, and you can put on this covering here. Then I'm installing it there now with it's a 6x37mm bolt, but I had to just retread the with the taps and dies. I had to retread it. So that's going back on there now, and I should be able to put the number plate back on, the handlebars back on, and the temporary wheel. That wheel I had on was just temporary. This is the covering that goes on there, and I'll be using 2 self-tapping screws into the plastic there. That's the horn cover in place there now. So I'm going to put the number plate back on now, and I think I can put the handlebars back on as well. Now that's the number plate back in position. I've tightened up these bolts here, and I actually changed them because the wheel was actually rubbing off of them when I had it on, so I put in narrower ones there. I had those ones on it, but they mustn't have been the correct ones. Now I'm after installing the 2 rear indicators there with stainless steel screws that just came in the post today from Hong Kong. So there are the 2 of them done, and I've also put stainless steel screws in the rear taillight, which I was waiting for as well. Now I got keys. I've just installed the rear taillight with stainless steel screws that I was waiting on in the post from Hong Kong, and I've also done the 2 side indicators, and I've used stainless steel screws there as well. There's nothing worse than trying to get these things off again at a later stage. Now that cover I have there, which I had in my spares, is not for a Honda C100. This is actually the cover for a C100. It has 2 markings on it there, 0, 1 and 2. Now this is the one that I've had, but I'm not sure if I can fix it up. Maybe I can. And the ignition switch, these are the ignition switches that I had off of two C100s. So I took them to a company in Cork City, and I got the keys cut for them because the keys were missing. So now they're working again. Now the keys are working, but one of the lugs is broken off of this one here, so I'll have to try and find some way to rectify that. And the other one, both the lugs are broken off, but I'll figure something out to do something with it. It's important, I think, to have the original ignition, even though they're not in the greatest shape, but they're not too bad. Now today I'm getting the front wheel sorted. I've just put on the rim tape. This is a new wheel that I bought on eBay. It is an actual 1964-65 wheel, and I bought a new tire and tube, and I'm putting them on there now. Now that's the front wheel, tire and tube on. And this is the brake plate unit, typical of 1964 and 65. I've just installed the wheel there now, and I've put on the brake on it there as well. So that's the front wheel finished. Now that's the rear wheel put together. The rest of the mechanisms are there, which I'll get to later. What I'm doing at the moment now is I'm putting on the rear. It's a kind of a swing arm for the suspensions. The suspension attaches here and here. So it actually goes on here, and this is the bolt that goes through there. So I must attach that on now. Swing arm in position there now. That bolt goes all the way through, and finished off with another nut at the other side. As I said, the suspension goes on here. Now I bought aftermarket ones. This is one of the aftermarket ones, and these are 3 original, and you'll notice the difference in them. Much more material on the original ones than on the aftermarket ones. I'm just wondering if I can actually maybe take this apart and use these 2 pieces. I'm going to try to do that. But in any event, whichever one I put on goes on there and goes on there like so. Now I'm in the process of restoring the suspension at the rear, and this is one that I've just completed. I'm using several different pieces. I had 4 of them, so I've taken them apart and I'm using them. This is the second one that I'll be doing now in a minute, and I've taken the chrome off of one of the aftermarket ones that I bought and used the top of it, so it looks pretty good, and it goes on here like so, and it'll be attached on there on the outside. So that's to be done next now. Now I've just installed that suspension on the rear. That's it on the book there. Blind nuts, that's what they're called. I couldn't think of the name of them. These are called blind nuts. So it bolts on the inside. I thought it was actually the outside, but it wasn't. Now that's the second suspension on there. And on the bottom, number 21 on the book, the bolts are 10mm by 44mm. So there's two of them required, one at each side, as you can see there. And blind nuts, 10mm blind nuts on top. And the upper ones then are 12mm blind nuts, number 22. So that's it. Now that's it, as it is looking at the moment. I'm just after inserting that plastic spacer filler piece in there, and the other one. Now this is the state of the bike at the present time. Yesterday I put on the rear suspensions there after restoring them. I'm at putting on the new rear brake pedal and that mechanism there. I think I can actually put the engine on at this stage, and I can probably put the rear wheel on as well. We'll see how it goes anyway this morning. The front wheel looks pretty good now, the new one that I bought. And I have the mirrors on as well. Front light is on just to connect up all the wiring. I'm not sure where there's two petrol hoses. There's another one there as well down at the bottom. I think they probably come out this hole that I actually should have brought the wire out that, but we'll see later on. This is the engine for this machine, which was restored by a friend of mine. And I'm going to attempt to attach it onto the frame here now in a minute. So it's going to take a bit of time. We'll probably have to jack it up to get it on. I've installed the engine there now, and there were just two bolts holding it in position. This one here, and the one that comes through there, which has a special part on the end of it that the spring goes over there, which is attached to the foot brake. I'm not happy with the way that's springing back up, but maybe I can get a shorter spring. That's probably seen its day. So I connected the wires that were coming out there, the same colours, and I think I've got one wire which isn't connected to anything. So I have to figure out from the wiring diagram what that's all about. There it is. See, there was a wire here, a green wire, black wire and a yellow wire, and that's all the wires that are coming out, but there doesn't seem to be any other wire this colour, but maybe it might be inside with the rest of the wires there. Anyway, that's what it looks like at the present time. I was just looking at how the leg shields will go on. They're the leg shields that came off of, which I must restore. But I was looking at it, and even in the book there I could see that there was a little clippy thing which has to go on. This one goes on at this side, So I must take off that bolt again, which holds the engine on, and there's another one at the other side. I have it down on the ground over there. There it is. So I must take off that bolt. I've installed the petrol hoses there now and attached them to the carburetor. I've attached the air hose. I'm after putting on a different stand on it because the stand that was on it wasn't allowing it to stand like it is at the moment. I've installed that unit there, which is part of the mechanism for the stand. I've put in a brake spring, but the brake spring isn't great. When you press the brake down, it doesn't come back up, so I'm going to have to get a new spring for that. I must put on the brake, the mechanism for the rear brake light there, and I'm now going to fit the exhaust pipe. I've also started putting on the rear brake arm here, but I just can't get it on over the thing at the moment, so I'm going to have another go at it in a minute. I have most of the wiring done, so everything is closed up. I'm not 100% sure that everything is right, but hopefully it will be. The rear wheel is on in position, and yep, that's about it for the moment. So we'll go now with this exhaust pipe. Now I've installed the rear section of the exhaust pipe, and hopefully I'll be able to put on the front piece. It says in the book that there's some sort of pieces that go in here which don't come with the exhaust pipe, so I'll have to see about that. I must just tighten up that other bolt there, and hopefully that will sort that. Now I was just about to put on the chain there, and when I went to put on the chain, which is the chain that was on the bike, it doesn't sit down on top of this cog at all. It won't sit down into the thing at all. It's too big. It's probably, I know I bought it from a Honda dealer, but I think it may have been for a Honda 90. It's much bigger than the normal sprocket that was on it, which I'm just after cleaning off inside. So I must take off the goddamn wheel again. Now I'm after changing the sprocket, and I've just put on the splicer, and it has to go in the direction that the chain is rotating, which is that way. So the curved section must be at that side. So now I can put the wheel back on. The wheel now is back, the rear wheel is back on, chain in place. I've put on the exhaust pipe. Fully up into the engine. And I've just put on the leg shields. These are the original leg shields. I've put them on there just to do a bit of work. There was a bad crack up along here, so I've fixed it with soldering iron, so hopefully it doesn't crack again. So I need to clean it off and paint it. I must give this one a small touch of paint as well. These are the chain covers now for this bike. There is a piece of it cut away up there, alright, but I am going to install it, and if I get a better one, I'll actually put that on later. So I'm going to put on the original one anyway. Just put on the lower casing there. with 6 by chain casing with 6 by 8mm bolts. Now to put on the top one, it appears as if I must take this, undo the suspension. This is the original leg shields off of the bike, and I'm after cleaning them off as best I can, and I'm after painting them. It was badly cracked down there, but I managed to fix it, so I think it'll be good to go. I must put the Honda 50 emblem on there now. That's the next thing. And this is the bike with the exhaust on. Just waiting for the leg shields there now, and I think it's finished then, and all I have to do is just double check the wiring, put petrol in and see if it'll start once I put the leg shields back on. Actually, maybe I might start it before I do that in case there's a problem with wires or anything like that. So hopefully it will start. Now I've just put on the Honda 50 sign there. I'm not happy with the way that it these little things keep it in place. It's a bit on the loose side, so I'm going to have to look at it when the paint dries a bit better to see if I can fix it a bit better. Now I'm just installing the leg shields, and I've just put in one of the spacer units in there. This is it here, and this one is going at the other side. So the bolt goes through with, I've put 2 spring washers on it, and this unit here then goes in behind and comes out. This section comes out through the hole here, and you screw the screw through to hold it in place. Right, I've introduced the spacer there now, and all it is a matter of tightening up the bolt. Which I'll continue to do. Now the 1965